One victim, 3 teenagers. Listen to the story.
She and 2 other people tortured and killed 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer.
The motive of the crime appears to be love triangle.
Investigators say the suspects led their victim to this isolated area of campus. The victim's partially dressed body was found in this brushy area Friday morning.
Moving out of home for the first time. For many young adults, that's probably one of the most exciting moments ever. Finally being independent, meeting new people, starting a first job, an apprenticeship, or college. It's the start of a big new adventure. Just like millions of other teenagers, 18-year-old Colleen Slemmer is incredibly excited for this day. She has no way of knowing that this experience will end in her death, and with a pentagram carved into her body. Colleen Slemmer is originally from Florida, but in the fall of 1994, she moves to Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where the Knoxville Job Corps is, a training center where she plans to take a few courses for a few months. She's given a small room on campus right away. Sounds pretty cool at first, and things actually start out okay. But at the Job Corps, there are also a few mean young people who seem to enjoy bullying their classmates. More than once, Colleen is teased or has things stolen from her. 2 girls and 1 boy especially have it out for her. Krista Gale Pike, her friend Shadala Peterson, and their buddy Daryl Shipp. Krista, like Colleen, is 18 years old. She recently dropped out of school and moved to Knoxville all on her own. There, she's enrolled in a government-funded program for nurse training. But in early 1995, Krista is spending less time focusing on her classes and more time obsessing over Colleen Slemmer. Here's the thing, when Colleen was new at the Job Corps, Daryl Shipp had a bit of a crush on her. But Colleen wasn't really interested in him. Now, Daryl is dating Krista, and Krista can't stand the fact that her boyfriend's former crush Colleen keeps popping up. Even though nothing ever really happened between Colleen and Daryl, Krista is jealous. To her, Colleen is a threat, and Krista decides that she's going to eliminate that threat. On the evening of January 14, 1995, Krista invites Colleen to hang out and smoke some weed together. Krista's boyfriend Daryl and their mutual friend Shadala are also coming along. Even though the 3 had bullied Colleen in the past, she agrees to go. Maybe she sees the invitation as a kind of peace offering from the group. The 4 of them head to Tyson Park, which is located on the Job Corps grounds. And that's where everything changes. Suddenly, Krista starts accusing Colleen of going after Daryl and trying to steal her boyfriend. Shadala walks a few meters away to keep watch, and then Daryl and Krista begin to hit and kick Colleen. The 2 of them beat the helpless girl for at least 30 minutes. They also force Colleen to take off her top and her bra. Colleen tries to run away, but she has no chance against the combined strength of Christine and Daryl. She begs Krista, promising she won't tell anyone if they just let her go. Colleen screams that she would even walk all the way back to Florida from Tennessee without looking back, if they would just leave her alone. But the 2 don't even consider stopping. Instead, Krista pulls out a box cutter and uses it to inflict more than 300 different wounds on Colleen that night. When Colleen somehow manages to stand up again and tries to run, Krista throws a nearby rock at the back of her head. It hits her so hard that she collapses. Then Krista and Daryl keep beating her head until she stops moving. They injure Colleen so badly that her skull bones are visible. Krista breaks off a piece of bone and keeps it as a souvenir. After that, Krista, Daryl, and Shadala leave Colleen's body in the woods. Back on campus the next morning, January 15th, a gardener is starting his early shift. He walks across the park area of the Job Corps grounds when he suddenly sees something lying just off the path near the greenhouse. At first, it looks like a badly mutilated animal carcass. But on second glance, he realizes the body is far too large to be a wild animal. The gardener immediately calls the police and notifies the Job Corps administration. When the crime scene investigators arrive shortly after, even the experienced officers are shocked. Rarely had such a brutally mutilated body been found in Knoxville. The face of the victim is no longer recognizable. Her skull is completely crushed. Colleen has to be identified later through her dental records. Among the more than 300 stab wounds, one in particular stands out. A pentagram had been carved into the victim's chest. The skin around this and the other wounds is slightly reddened, which means the victim was still alive when the injuries were inflicted. The police begin their investigation at the Job Corps right after securing the scene. Once they confirm the victim is student Colleen Slemmer, they suspect that the killer or killers are also students. When students at the Job Corps leave their housing, they have to check in and out with security. On the evening before, 4 students had signed out together at 8 p.m. Krista, Tadaryl, Shadala, and Colleen, but only 3 of them signed back in at 10:15 p.m. That same evening, after returning, Krista went to her friend Kim's room, her roommate. Krista pulled a broken piece of Colleen's skull from her jacket pocket and showed it to Kim. Kim was only 16 at the time, and understandably completely terrified. Krista told her that she had just killed Colleen Slemmer, and that it had taken a long time for her to die. She said she had slit her throat, slammed her head on the asphalt, and that Colleen kept begging her to stop. But hearing Colleen still talk only annoyed Krista more and made her even more violent. Then Krista threatened Kim. She said she'd kill her too if she told anyone. Out of fear, 16-year-old Kim stayed silent. Today, Kim says she feels very ashamed of that, but at the time, she was simply too scared that Krista would come after her next. So she stayed silent through the night, even though of course she didn't sleep a single minute. Before it's known the next morning that a student has been murdered, classes at the Job Corps go on as usual. In the middle of a class, Krista Pike suddenly turns to another student named Stephanie. Krista points to her sneakers, which have small brownish spots on them. She brags to Stephanie that it's not mud, it's real human blood. Then she pulls out the same piece of Colleen's skull from her jacket and shows it to Stephanie. She tells Stephanie the exact same story she had told Kim the night before. And just like Kim, Stephanie is too terrified at first to tell anyone. Meanwhile, the police have already arrived on campus and begun their investigation. An officer goes room by room through the apartment complex. In Tadaryl's room, the officer finds something unexpected. An actual satanic altar and a lot of literature about Satanism. In Krista's room, too, there are stacks of books on the same subject, a clear link to the pentagram carved into Colleen's body. They also find the piece of Colleen's skull in Krista's jacket pocket. At this point, they hardly need any more proof. But soon, statements from Kim and Stephanie are added to the evidence. Because of all this, Krista, Tadaryl, and Shadala are arrested right there on the Job Corps' grounds. Shortly after her arrest, Krista confesses. She says the evidence was just too overwhelming anyway. In her police interview, she calmly and clearly explains what she did, almost in a cheerful tone. She also admits freely that the idea to torture Colleen had been hers, and that she had been the main one leading the attack. She claims she didn't actually want to kill Colleen, only hurt her, but the police don't believe that. First, because of how extreme Colleen's injuries were. Over 300 stab wounds and a crushed skull. Krista must have known Colleen would die. Second, there are the statements from Tadaryl and Shadala. Both of them say separately that at some point Krista got really angry that Colleen was still alive after so much of the attack. At one point, Krista reportedly said, "Why won't this bee die?" Then she grabbed a rock and hit Colleen in the head with it until she stopped breathing. Even if Colleen's death wasn't the original plan, it's clear that severely hurting her was. And once Krista and Tadaryl got going, Krista just wanted to finish it. That's why, at just 18 years old, Krista Pike now faces the most serious consequences: death sentence. While Krista Pike sits on death row, the police begin to look into how she became a killer in the first place. When you talk to her, there's nothing that suggests a cruel or violent nature. She is polite and humorous, a pleasant person to talk to, a young woman with a small frame who doesn't look like she could hurt anyone. But looks can be deceiving. In a documentary, one expert even compares Krista Pike to the fictional character Hannibal Lecter. Both are calm, charming people who know how to win others over, and no one would ever suspect them of being capable of horrific crimes. Krista's path to becoming a murderer likely began in early childhood. There was always alcohol in the Pike household, but often not even basic food. Her mother had many different partners over the years, and at least one of them abused Krista over a long period. Her mother did nothing to stop it. Instead, she shared her marijuana with Krista, while Krista was still underage. The hygiene in the home was reportedly terrible. Animal waste was found all over the place. Moving to Knoxville could have been a fresh start for Krista, maybe even should have been. She wanted to become a nurse, someone who helps people and saves lives. Instead, at just 18 years old, she took a life, in a particularly brutal way, and out of pure jealousy. Krista is 20 when she sits in court, charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The trial against her lasts only a few hours. On March 22, 1996, she is found guilty. Her accomplices receive lighter sentences. Taddaryl gets a life sentence, but with the chance to apply for parole after 25 years. Shadal, on the other hand, receives only a probation sentence. That's because she testified in court as a key witness against the other two, and because she played only a passive role in the actual crime. Since 1996, Krista Pike has been on death row. She has filed appeals as often as possible to try to overturn her death sentence, and I really mean as often as possible. By now, she has no legal options left. She's tried everything. Still, Krista Pike is alive, and as of the time this video was recorded, no execution date has been set. Instead, the threat of death hangs over her like a Damocles sword. And since Krista is already facing death, she seems to see no reason to behave well in prison. In 2001, she nearly kills another person. Krista and another inmate named Natasha Cornett get into a fight with a third prisoner, Patricia Jones. During the fight, Krista and Natasha try to kill Patricia. It's only thanks to the prison staff noticing the commotion in time that the women are separated before it's too late. Krista later says she would finish the job if she ever saw Patricia again. Because of this incident, Krista is put on trial once more and sentenced to an additional 25 years in prison for attempted murder. Not that it really changes anything for her. She's already on death row. But even then, Krista continues to stir up trouble. She starts affairs with two prison guards. One of them even begins to plan her escape from death row. The plan gets so far that an escape route and an accomplice on the outside are already arranged. Only by chance is the plan discovered and stopped by prison officials. And so Krista Pike continues to wait for her execution. Just like Colleen Slemmer's mother, who longs for the day her daughter's killer dies, she probably won't be able to find peace until then. This case is likely one of the most brutal I've ever covered. In a disturbing way, it reminds me of the case of Angela Wrightson, another woman who was tortured to death by teenagers. I know the debate is old and highly emotional, but every time we cover the death penalty here on Truthscape, I wonder, what do you think about it? I would never judge anyone, like Colleen's mother, who longs for justice through such a sentence, but I'm mainly against it. Feel free to share your thoughts on the topic in the comments. I'd really love to hear your opinions. And by the way, doing that also helps support the channel, since any kind of interaction increases the chances that the video will be recommended to people who haven't subscribed to me yet. Here you can find another chilling case. Click on it. Until then, see you soon. Stay safe.